God, nope. Where in the world is it? Ooh! Yes! I thought I lost this. Yes, bro.
When you were a dumb little kid, you would obsess over things you really enjoyed. Or you're still a dumb kid who obsesses over things you really enjoy. Like FNAF or peak media. I remember when I was 8 years old, my parents got me my first ever game console. The Wii. I have so many great memories with this thing, like playing Wii Party minigames with my family, or not being able to get past the third world in Mario Galaxy 2, or my cousin, who is way older than me, slamming my head into the ground because I wouldn't stop bothering him about modding Super Smash Bros. Brawl. But the game I have the most memories of, and that I was absolutely, completely obsessed with, was Mario Kart Wii. That was one of the first games that my parents bought for me for the Wii, and if there was a way I could check how many hours I have on it, I promise you it would be over like 5,000. But that's not the point. I can go back and play Mario Kart Wii literally anytime I want with the original save. It's literally in the room right across from me, and I have. But the act of it has never really been nostalgic to me. Yeah, it's kind of fun to be playing on this old ass TV with wonky motion controls, but it doesn't feel nostalgic. Wait, why is the sound turned all the way down? Oh my god! I've always found music to be way more nostalgic than like anything. And I don't really know why, but I know I'm not alone in feeling this way. I think Mario Kart in general is a good example here. Music is half of what makes Mario Kart Mario Kart. The jazzy, lighthearted, fast-paced music goes perfectly with drifting around corners, funky stages, and getting hit with the blue shell right on the final lap while you're in first place and you're right there in front of the finish line. Mario Kart without the music is just drunk driving, and I can do that whenever I want. I'm not here to talk about Mario Kart's music though. That's for another video. I'm here to talk about nostalgic music, and what's more nostalgic sounding than synthwave? Okay, now do the thing. Synthwave is a form of music that is heavily inspired by the sounds and the aesthetics of the 1980s, and they use synthesizers to create that feeling. That's where the synth part comes in, but then you get to like subgenres, like retrowave. Like, did they use their NES to make the music or something? Synthwave is a newish genre of music that started in the early 2000s, and some of you might be like, hey, that's not that new, that's like 24 years ago. And you'd be right, but compared to other music genres, it's pretty new. Synthwave can best be described as something from the middle of the past and the future, and that's where you get things like this. And I love it. Funny thing about that though, is that the 90s is a quote no-no in the synthwave community, but the colors, the sounds, the 16-bit graphics weren't really around in the 80s. Synthwave also takes heavy inspiration from 80s TV shows, movies, video games, or those like commercial jingles that were absolute bops, giving it that nostalgic sound that always seems to sound familiar. Hundreds of years ago on old social media platforms like MySpace, a very small group of people would share music using old retro-sounding synths before it was even called synthwave. One of these early artists being Kavinsky, he's French, was already making music with these types of synths. The best one to note being Nightcall, and I'm sure you've heard this before and you just didn't know the name of it. This song being from the 2011 movie Drive, which was one of the first movies in the 2000s to implement using sounds like these. This movie was very important to early synthwave artists, introducing them to this cool sound. Another early song that was pretty important is A Real Hero by Electric Youth, who didn't have the intent of making it sound 80s inspired, but people ended up fascinating over that aspect over the real meaning of the song.
You know, I wrote that coming from a place of true emotion, so it's hard for us then sometimes when we see a song like that we've put that into, and what someone celebrates about it is that they feel it sounds like 80s, you know? And it just feels very surface level for us.
Both went mainstream, causing a want for more and solidifying it as a music genre. And in 2012, 2013-ish, this music genre was finally given a name.
That's not it!
Many early synthwave artists thought this was just gonna be a quick fad and it wasn't gonna last that long. They were fucking stupid. In 2014, Kavinsky and Electric Youth were both labeled as the most popular synth artists at that time, and even more so popularized the sound of the 80s / retro style sounding synths. Songs like Style by Taylor Swift or fucking How High by Ice Spice drew inspiration from these early sounds. To further validate my point, 2014 is when synthwave saw a huge spike in popularity. And when did 1989 come out? That makes sense. And no, Taylor fans, I didn't use Taylor's version for this because the original sounds better for my point. So what are you gonna do about it? I'm sorry, please. I just want to clarify that in 2014, it was the first big spike in popularity for the genre. It wasn't like the only spike. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't like putting false information out on the internet. I don't think I explained that well in my script. It's 3 in the morning right now. I'm in shambles. Then later down the line, a 2016 British band. Whoa. It's not my fault that they were British. Oh my god, just because I said British. Stop. In 2016, a band called the 1975 released a song called Somebody Else, which then came to be a critically acclaimed synthwave influenced track. Alright, that's one point, I guess. The genre was even more popularized from the use in games like Boneworks or Katana Zero, and even more popularized from shows like Stranger Things. But is this a good thing? Artists said that the success and popularity of the genre could eventually kill it. Some of you might be saying, Ryan, that makes literally no sense. How could something getting more popular kill it? Well, you silly little fellow, it's not literally killing the genre, but it's that loss of the distinctive characteristics that made it unique in the first place. The more popular it is, the more likely it is to be commercialized and that it can lead to oversaturation. And it made some artists concerned that the pressure to replicate successful formulas could compromise the artistic integrity of the genre. That's not the only thing though. When rock exploded in popularity in the early 2000s, it made music with synths fall off because they weren't loud and aggressive. Speaking of rock, a lot of early synthwave artists actually came from rock or heavy metal. A lot of people in the rock scene were unsatisfied with the status quo. And synthwave is similar. It's people who abandoned the simplicity and limitations of pop and did something more emotional and atmospheric. You want to know what else is emotional and atmospheric? Horror movies. Movies by John Carpenter were a huge inspiration for the entire synthwave genre as a whole. All of Carpenter's movies have this prominent and memorable atmosphere. Like synthwave. Take Assault on Precinct 13's main theme. Like, come on, you know exactly what this sounds like. It's very easy to see where the inspiration came from. The great thing about synthwave is that it can reach a huge audience. You don't need musical knowledge of the 80s to enjoy the sound. Hell, I was born in 2004. Do you think I know what was going on in the 80s? Probably sexism. Artists take these feelings projected by things that they loved in the 80s, and then they turn that emotional response into music. It's a blend of so many different musical styles which can cause it to resonate with literally anyone. Wait, resonate? Resonate. Resonance! We're now
10 minutes and 32 seconds.
in the video, and I'm now finally talking about the main inspiration of why I even wanted to make this video in the first place. I've been listening to this artist since 2014, and to this day, I don't think a single artist has encapsulated that feeling of nostalgia more than Home. Randy Goff, or Goffy, Home, makes music inspired by the sounds of the 80s and mixes it with chiptune and chill synth. What the fuck just came out of my mouth? I had no idea what chiptune was, but when I looked it up, apparently it just uses the synthesizers in like old gaming consoles and computers. So it's basically using that shitty synthesizer in your Game Boy Advance to make music. And then chill synth is kinda self-explanatory. You make synthwave in a room that's 50 degrees or under. Duh. Okay, actually, just imagine that synthwave and then lo-fi hip-hop were mixed into one music genre, and then boom, there you go. Home is regarded as like the creator of chill synth when he created the 2014 album Odyssey, and that was the first album I listened to as a kid, and still to this day, all the music on there holds up really well. If I'm done with my 35,000 minutes of lo-fi for the day, I can always rely on this album to fill in for a bit. But prior to Odyssey, Home released multiple songs and an album, if this YouTube playlist is right. For some reason, it's literally impossible to find like any information on this, but I'm doing the best I can. The first album that he ever released was the Atlantic Tapes in October of 2013, and it has 52 songs? What? Apparently it's a combination of like full songs and then song tests / snippets and then a couple of remixes. Do I think it was any good? Was 9/11 good? No, I'm kidding. It actually wasn't that bad. I was listening to synthwave and then it slowly turned into Get Lucky by Daft Punk. What the fuck? This album is arguably one of the least well-known Home albums, and it kind of makes sense because it was still his first album and there's not really any real songs on there, I guess. I don't know. The next album I've already talked about, Odyssey, which released in July of 2014, including the song Resonance, which I don't want to say carried his album into being the most popular, but it carried his album into being the most popular. But there is a song that reminds me of the Bugsnax soundtrack, and I'm not going to elaborate any further. This album put it on people's radar for being a synthwave artist. Home then allowed the YouTube channel Electronic Gems to post his song Resonance, where it gained a bunch of traction, but not right away. It wasn't until like 2016 or 2017 until the song gained like a bunch of traction, and to this day, it is the most viewed video on the Electronic Gems YouTube channel, and it's not even close. 5 months later, in December of 2014, Home released the album Before the Night, with the most notable song being We're Finally Landing. I've always loved this song, and I've always feel like it got overshadowed by Resonance. But hey, that's just my dumbass opinion that no one asked for. So let's move on to February of 2016. The album Falling Into Place was released, which seemed a little less synthwavy than Home's other albums, but there were a few songs in there that were more synthwavy, but that doesn't mean they sounded less nostalgic. This album is a great example of Home really defining his own sound in the synthwave sphere. Okay, I'm saying this with no hatred, and I feel this way about lo-fi too, and lo-fi hip-hop is literally my favorite music genre, but a lot of synthwave and the subgenres of it kind of blend together. And that's not a bad thing, far from it. It's really comforting coming back to something that you know will be the same in this hectic experience we call life. That's why music genres like lo-fi and synthwave thrive. At least to me. But with so many different songs that sound similar, one change in sound can like distinctively set you apart from the crowd. This is exactly what Home does in this album. He makes it sound unique and easy to point out in a crowd of similar sounding things. So basically Home is Waldo, and he was right there, I knew it! And the final album he released at the time of this recording is Resting State. And I've never heard this before. I wonder what's on it. Oh my god! After listening to it, it still has that Holmes signature sound, but again, some of the songs aren't as synth-wavy. And I would play some of the songs, but you had to like buy the album online, so I'm just gonna assume I can't. And that was the entire album discography of Holmes. But he did release an EP in September of 2019 called Hold, and that's all the information given. The EP had 6 songs, and 2 of them are some of my favorites, that being Sunflower and Dusk. This EP seems to return to that synthwave / chill synth sound that you've come to expect from Holmes, and that was Holmes' entire discography. Probably. There are a few songs I'm sure I probably missed, but it's so hard to find information on this for some reason. Okay, I lied. I forgot he released an EP in 2014 called 1985 with 4 songs on it. Okay, bye. Holmes was able to create this subgenre that somehow overshadows the original genre. This ended up introducing and inspiring artists to create music in a similar style. Hotel Pools, a.l.i.s.o.n, ADMO are all artists that come to mind who found the genre and then put their own spin on it. And once Holmes created this subgenre, he went off to make his own style of music, somehow bridging the gaps of chill synth and other musical genres. It's actually insane. You will never find an artist who can recreate the sound of Holmes' music, and it all fits under this one concept: nostalgia. Somehow he's able to create this sound that reminds you of a better time in every single one of his songs. Many people relate the sound that he's able to accomplish to chord progression, and I don't know fucking shit about chord progression or music theory or anything to do with music science or whatever the fuck. I know like chord progression is like how the chords are laid out, but that's about it. Holmes' music is very simple, using the same few chords over and over again in each song, but to create a feeling of movement, he changes up the ordering of each different chord. This is explained way better in this beautifully edited video by misteramazing. I highly recommend checking it out after this video. It's in the description. The reason Holmes' music works so well when it's simple is because people idolize the past, and they want an escape from the complexity of life where it's so overwhelming, and the simpler times are just related with less stress. Instead of just saying that Holmes' music is nostalgic and here are the reasons why, I want to talk about a few songs that, in my opinion, perfectly represent that Holmes' signature sound that I've been talking about throughout the entire video. But not Resonance, because everyone already knows about that one. The first song I want to talk about is New Machines, released on the 2014 album Resonance. Odyssey. This song, like a lot of other Holmes songs, has this retro-futuristic sound to it, but I feel like this one is more prominent for some reason. Can I explain why? No, I just feel that way. Listen, if you thought I was gonna go into the music theory about why the song is so nostalgic, then you were wrong, buddy. It's a very lighthearted and happy song, and it keeps that simplicity that I've talked about before. Like, the chord progression is literally the exact same throughout the entire song. Like, this is it. Then if I just... See, while researching this song, I found out that a lot of people like this part. Honestly, I don't get why. I don't feel anything specific when the woo-da 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 part comes on. If you're one of those people, let me know specifically like what part of it resonates with you. I'm genuinely curious. It's more of the old sounding drums and synth that Holmes uses that really sticks with me. It reminds me of like an old console shop soundtrack like the Wii or the DSi, even though it's not chiptune. Something about the chord progression and the retro audio filter really just makes it sound nostalgic to me. I think it really has to do with the drums, which reminds me of like the old drum beat sound from the Animal Crossing games, and I've always gravitated towards that sound when it comes to music like this. Every time I put the song on, I'm transported back to when I was a kid, and the only responsibilities I had was to do my math homework so I could go downstairs and play Mario Kart on my Wii. If I had to display Holmes' music with one song, this would be the song without question. The second song I want to talk about is Dusk from the EP Hold in 2019. I wanted to talk about this song because I think it's a perfect example of chill synth. Home created a subgenre in 2014 and already perfected it with songs like Half Moon and Resonance, and then 5 years later, he just showed that he'd mastered it with this song. This song is sad and it's beautiful, and it has sounds that I wouldn't even relate to the word beautiful. It starts off slow and dark toned, and then you keep listening, and then this part comes on. Holy shit! A lot of Home songs build up from the original chorus. First, you have the synth and the bass. Then you have the hi-hats. Then you add more drums and another synth. And then you sit with this for a while. Until he adds this. It's so hard to explain these songs and why they work because they fill you up with so much emotion. It's such a comforting song that tells you that everything's gonna be okay, while at the same time you're on a roller coaster of emotions that you don't even know how to explain. Can you tell I like this song? Home allows you to sit and get used to the rhythm of the song and then slowly eases a new element that complements the song perfectly, making this beautiful song that has no right to be this good. I know that Resonance is the more widely accepted perfect chill synth song, but everyone already says that, and I want to be different and maybe talk about a less well-known song. This song works so well because it's simple and predictable, which is something you probably want in your songs that are labeled as chill. Like, imagine you were listening to your lo-fi and then it turned into like a Jersey beat or something. I know I keep going back to like the concept of simplicity or whatever, but I think it really works with what Home is trying to go for in his music. This song is literally 2 chords. Well, technically 4, but there's like 2 at the end that change. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. It makes his music comforting and easy to listen to time and time again. I love this song, if you couldn't tell. But there is one more that is, in my opinion, his best song. I really wanted to choose 3 less well-known songs by Home, but come on, how am I supposed to make a video about Home that's not talking about 1, Resonance, or 2, We're Finally Landing? Remember what I said about New Machines and how it would be like, oh, the one song that I would choose to display all of Home's music? Yeah, I lied. That song comes second to this one, and it's not even close. Also, I fucked up the camera angle. I don't know if you can tell, but I definitely can, and I'm upset about it. Just wanted to say that. This song is the perfect combination of Home's signature sound, the simplicity of his music, and the subgenre that he created. Each new layer of the song introduced perfectly combines with all the past elements and weaves it into this amazing piece of music. I cannot describe how much I like this song. When I first heard this song in 2016, I knew that this was the song. Period. I have old videos of myself playing fucking Mario Kart to this music. But then, for a pretty long time, I forgot this piece of music existed. Until like 2021 when I found it in some YouTuber's outro. And I feel like this song is perfectly fitting for this timeline for some reason. And you know when you like remember a song that you used to listen to as a kid, and then you go back and listen to it when you're older and it just sucks complete ass? Yeah, this song does not fit that stereotype at all. I'd also like to brag that I found this song completely on my own as a kid, and if you found it through a YouTube video, then that makes me better than you. And that's all I gotta say. This song is pretty unique to what Home usually makes. It has these different section parts that you can't really find in any other songs of his. You got the opening, then the beat drop. Then it switches to this completely different sound from what you've gotten used to. But then Holmes starts adding elements from the first part of the song, weaving the two together. Until it accumulates into this beautiful final segment where all the pieces are put together and everything is played at once. This song evokes so much emotion. I don't know how this man does it. Multiple times. Home is a very special artist to me because I've been listening to his music for like 10 years. Each one of his songs has their own sound and characteristic that all fit under this concept of nostalgia. Home, I want to thank you for all the songs that you've put out over the years and all the emotions that came with it as well. So many people have been touched or inspired by your music where it's literally made a positive impact on their lives. You can see this too with comments under songs that were released 4, 5, 6 years ago, praising and talking about how the song made them feel so many emotions, and none of the comments are over a month old. People come back to these songs because it made them feel something. As a kid, especially being around 15, I wanted to be an adult and grow up so bad, but I regret that because I spent so much time worrying about what it was like to be older. And now that I am, I wish I could go back to the past and just tell myself, shut the fuck up and just focus on the present. With Holmes' music, I'm able to do that in a way. I can feel like I'm back, being a kid again, playing Mario Kart in my living room, and I have no responsibilities other than getting up and getting on the bus for school in the morning. I don't really know how to do outros, and this video's already really late. So make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 1. That video fucking sucked.